David De Angelis presents The Warrior of the Heart, Thoughts and Reflections to Conquer One's Life by David De Angelis. Digitally narrated using the voice of Edward Herman. Life becomes what we make of it. It is an individual creation. Which song you want to sing is a personal choice. Anyone can sing heavenly notes. All it takes is a little practice. To every heart, I would like to say, pick up your flute. Time flies. Don't miss the opportunity to sing. Before the curtain falls, you must sing the song of your existence. Osho. Seeds of Wisdom from a Letter. To you, warrior. Dear reader, whether woman or man, whatever color your skin and whatever religion you belong to, this book was written for you. Craftsman, blacksmith, engineer, or painter, this book purports to speak to that something everyone has inside them, but few take the trouble to listen to, their own heart. How many times he spoke to you, and how many times you did not listen to him. His music is made up of vibrant emotions that, if only listened to, could make your life a melodious symphony, beyond the deafening din of modern life, where everything matters except the one who marks, beat after beat, the passing of your life. This little book is here to show you a path, a way, a path, which is that of the warrior of the heart, the one who, armed with courage, faith, and passion, sets out towards the highest self-expression. An arduous path, but one that has always enabled the man or woman who has embarked on it to amaze themselves and rise above that life that only causes one to be born, grow, and die, without knowing and appreciating its profound meaning. Dear reader, now you have the tools. It is up to you to recognize and follow your personal path of greatness and make your heart the lantern of your life. David De Angelis. The Warrior of the Heart. The warrior of the heart is the one who believes. He believes in the signs that his heart, a messenger of emotions and premonitions, sends him. He believes in his life, which is a journey of doubts, hopes, emotions. The warrior is the one who is moved before a starry sky and an iridescent moon. He who, before the red sun fading on the horizon, wonders what tomorrow will hold for him. He asks himself if he has acted according to the law, the only law he knows, the law of his heart. The law of his heart is the law of God, that almighty and infinite God who has enabled him to hear and perceive that melodious and fascinating music that comes from the depths of himself, beyond all outward din. The warrior is the one who seeks to interpret his life with humility, wisdom, and passion, trying to embody, beyond his weaknesses, the virtues and the law of the warrior himself. The warrior is the one who knows that he is nothing before the immensity of creation, but who has the courage to advance on his path in search of personal mastery, which is nothing more than the development of his own talents. Miracle. The first great miracle in the life of the warrior of the heart occurs when he becomes aware of himself and how much power he has over his life. He well knows the unpleasant feeling of detachment and helplessness toward the flow of events, which is precisely why he now appreciates the liberating power of conscious connection with the source of all manifestation. He realizes this important turning point in his life when he feels his heart filled with all good intentions that, together with his persevering actions, will lead him toward his conscious evolution and expression. His life becomes pregnant with magic, the miracle enters his life. Heading toward harmony, he becomes, little by little, a tuned instrument in the hands of God. More miracles await him along the path. Seed shoots he has lovingly planted in his consciousness, watered with the clear water of his own expanding awareness and the warm rays of faith. Evolution. Existence is becoming, flowing in the sea of life. Nothing is static. Everything transforms continuously and inexorably. Every experience, every feeling leaves its mark and the trace of a universe that changes and evolves. There comes a point when, after the multitude of existences passed in the sleep of unconsciousness, something blossoms and begins to blossom. In the warrior of the heart, it is consciousness of oneself as an evolving being. It is a turning point in the cycle of exist. Ends that marks the moment of return to the self, of coming home. The warrior awakens from this long sleep with an energy and enthusiasm that gradually grows. Like waking up after a long night, the first rays of the sun increase in intensity, brightness, and warmth. From this moment on, his actions and thoughts are combined toward full evolution and expression. Now he knows. He is here to experience, rejoice, kiss, touch, grow, and love. He is here to create and express. Every moment becomes precious because it is rich in awareness and the present moment. In whatever situation he is born into, the warrior knows that, as his consciousness and self-awareness expand, so his world expands and changes accordingly. As it is inside, so it is outside. By patiently and consciously working on himself, he evolves, riding the wave of change and his evolution. He works on his body, making it tuned as an instrument. He works on his mind by nourishing it with elevated thoughts. He works on his spirit, indulging in meditation. Conscious evolution has begun. The way is shorter when one is conscious of one's direction. Power. All of life is an immense power that manifests itself continuously. Look at the sea force, and you will understand. Look at the rush of the wind, and you will understand it. Imagine the infinite depths of the sky, and you will be able to grasp it. Observe the majesty of the mountains, and you will make it your own. Why should man not be part of the immense power of creation? Man's true power is related to his relationship with existence itself. If he can grasp the subtle harmony that pervades the whole, he can also take part in that manifestation of greatness and power. To grasp the essence of a thing is to possess it. How can you not feel strong when you feel you are a part of this majestic power in action? One of the aims of the warrior of the heart is to develop his personal power over himself. He does this with the consciousness of an evolving being. Every evolving being tends toward the unfolding of his power and manifestation. This consciousness of evolution enables him to plow a direct path toward its unfolding and toward the flowering of his being. As he develops his inner power, he understands the futile lust for power over others. He who is master of himself and his life possesses the security of being centered in the cosmic order. What greater power than the awareness that he has the evolutionary force of the universe with him? Body. The body is the temple of the spirit. Few know this, and few honor it. In the material dimension, he is one of the elements of manifestation and experience. Through him one feels the gentle spring wind caressing one's face, enjoys a refreshing bath in a quiet spring, savors the warm embrace of the beloved. The body is a gift given to the being from the worlds of spirit. Like a sword, it must be cared for and sharpened so that it is always ready for its purpose. The body is tempered by the four elements found in nature: water, earth, air, and fire. Each element of these enables him to remain healthy, which is an important and necessary condition for a creative and magical life. How can you appreciate the peace of a sunset if your body is aching and crying out in despair? Matter follows thought. The body is the physical transmutation of an individual's thoughts and feelings. Resolve your hatred and flow in love. Shun boredom and embrace the joy that accompanies the path on the path of your life. Feelings are powerful ingredients in the creation of the body and powerful medicines. The warrior of the heart joyfully disciplines his body. He honors the water he drinks, choosing it from the purest and most pristine. With him will be the strength of the rushing wave. Honor the strength of the earth element in him by feeding on the product of the fields. With him will be the strength of the mountains. Embrace the air element, breathing long and deep, where trees and plants grow luxuriantly. With him will be the strength and purity of wind. The warrior immerses himself in the warm embrace of the sun, allowing it to flood all corners of his being with light. With him will be the power of fire, which illuminates and purifies everything. He comes into harmony with the matter of his body to give full expression to the spirit. Healing. The body and its state of health is the thought coagulated behind it. Spirit acts through its material manifestation, through the emotions, to the state of the body. Health and illness, It is a matter of energy. The body acts as a conductor of the mental energy of thoughts and the quivers of emotions. The sento of a flower, the feeling of a sunset. What emotion do they give your body? Healing is being able to achieve that psychophysical state of balance and harmony with oneself, and thus with the whole. Just as illness is a request for the soul to listen, so healing is the opportunity given to the body to join the flow of life. For the warrior of the heart, health is not just the absence of illness, but a state of well-being, bliss and harmony that lead him toward a state of vitality that makes him a participant in a fully conscious and creative life. In that state of grace, the warrior meets himself and the heart within him. He recognizes illness as a stage of soul growth for the one who does not want to feel his needs and the meaning of his existence. To heal is to embrace the message of illness, which turns away from the state of grace of being. The warrior recognizes his life as a path of continuous healing, growth and creative expression, toward the full manifestation of the Supreme Being within him. Freedom. A man's spirit soars higher as he is freer to follow the wave of his passions and deep aspirations. The warrior of the heart aspires for such freedom to crown his life of the fulfillment of his dreams. Without it, the warrior is like a hawk in a cage. He cannot fly, but only imagine in his fervent mind the peaks that await him up at the top. Slave is he who does work for which he has no passion, who embraces a woman he does not love, who follows a path he does not feel in his heart, a slave to a limited vision that blinds him to the boundless possibilities of his life and the overwhelming emotions that await him. Free is he who travels through his life discovering uncharted territories, who follows the secret impulse of his spirit, who has a vision of evolution and self-realization. The warrior wins, little by little, like a skilled and patient chiseler, his freedom. He does so mainly by following his vision and honoring the purpose of his life. Putting art into what he does, seek the kingdom of heaven and the rest will be given to you in addition, the ancient scriptures recite. In these wise words, he grasps the possibility of a free, rich, and meaningful life. His heart whispers to him, "Do what you love and all the rest will follow. You will be the king of your kingdom and master of your life." Cooperation. We are never alone, not even when we think we are alone. In the wind run images, thoughts and emotions that caress the face of our being. By learning to listen to the feeling within, the warrior relies on the conspiracy of evolution, an expression of the joint work of all beings, manifest and unmanifest. Every great feat, and the warrior is aware of this, is the fruit of the effort, knowledge and inspiration of a multitude of other beings. We build on the shoulders of the giants of the past and on the inspiring wave of imagination. Cooperation implies conscious, joint action toward a common outcome. Warriors of the heart are often scattered around the world, but they work in spirit as if side by side, elbow to elbow. Their common thinking, aimed at their own self-realization, their own manifestation of the divine in daily life, toward global evolution, makes them a living, pulsating, organic and harmonious organism. As the heart beats and gives impulse to the brain, so the brain gives impulse to the nerves. You can discern the immaterial from what is manifest. Build your success through cooperation, so that others are also part of the enterprise, and find the impetus toward reaching other heights. Insight. If you want to travel in the winds of intuition, to embrace what is beyond the limits of the known, close your eyes and listen. Listen to what deeply exists in your depths. Abandon everything that envelops you and grips your imagination. Abandon the limits of your culture. They are the thresholds of a consciousness that expands and adapts to each historical epoch. Isolate yourself from the outer din and limitations of your society. You alone must be the conscious creator of your existence and co-creator of the universe. Listen to your intuitions. Know how to grasp them as you grasp a whisper that flies lightly in the wind. They are the deepest contact with yourself, the promise of a harmony that only asks to blossom. Imagination. Each individual's future is operative through the present moment, through his or her dreams, expectations, fears, and aspirations. The future is linked to the present with a thin thread that binds the moments yet to come. with the individual emotions experienced in the present moment. Imagination is the seed of the present, projected into the future. What you sow, you will reap, and this applies to any kind of future. It can be witnessed by a man who broke his truth, chasing dreams that did not belong to him. It can be witnessed by the one who passionately interpreted his existence. Both acted on their imagination, which over time created their future. The warrior of the heart expands his life, feeling within himself the essence of every thought that is not yet manifest in concrete reality, but yearns to manifest itself. With his fervent imagination, he lays the foundation of his future existence. The warrior of the heart is not a dreamer. He imagines with his heart and operates concretely in reality, day after day, according to his vision. His thinking expands himself, seeking what is beyond the known. Imagine losing yourself in the eyes of her love, holding her in a strong embrace, singing with her the hymn to life. Imagine the fruit of her confident work, day after day, beyond all obstacles. His imagination is an act of faith, as are the individual steps of his life. It is one of the greatest weapons for him, freeing him from the limitations of the past and making him a participant in a future of greatness. What greater blessing is there than a gift that has no limits? Truth. The path is long and difficult, without a map to guide the step in the right direction. The warrior of the heart meets the soul of those with whom he comes in contact, even for a brief, fleeting moment. He sees beyond. Beyond the appearance that each individual, some more, some less, constructs around himself. Some do it to deceive, some do it not to show. The warrior knows. He knows that behind every facial line is the expression of the soul. He knows that every expression is pure essence of the one who shows it. He knows that men often hide what is weak and vulnerable. He who is truly strong shines clear in the light of the sun. Neither water nor the sun is afraid to show their essence. He is like the primordial elements of the universe. He is, simply. He does not judge, but accepts each one as the bearer of his own truth. The warrior of the heart respects. Each wave of the sea possesses within itself its own individuality, while being intimately linked to both the rushing wave and the gentle ripple. The truth for each person is the wisdom of his own heart. He who follows it to the end, armed with faith, courage, and perseverance, is the one who will be crowned with the triumph of his spirit. The warrior of the heart knows this. He listens, immersed in nature, to the rustle of the wind in the trees, the shimmer of the sun in the branches, the murmur of the sea. He knows how to listen, beyond the deafening din of a chaotic world, which seeks only to suppress that voice, faint but resolute, which echoes within him, the truth of his heart. Where will it take me? Sometimes he asks himself, bewildered, aware that he is following a way of which he sees no end. And the timely heart answers, to the one who knows how to listen, follow your truth, not that of others. Only thus will you be able to come to crown your life with deep meaning. Only thus will you find the treasures of your life. Only thus will you find the triumph of your being. Man, listen. And the man who has learned to listen to the truth of his heart is born as a warrior of the heart, for of no use would be the other qualities in a good fight in which the firm fist and the quivering of the tear are not felt. Talent. The tempering of a sword, which withstands the hardest shocks, the wheel of a chariot, which enables the traveler to plow rough and stony paths, the majesty of a cathedral, which enables souls to touch the spirit of the divine, are all expressions of what every man on this earth hides in his heart. Talent. Everyone has a talent. Few can recognize it and bring it to the light of themselves and the world, piece by piece, as if it were a sculpture being freed of its superfluous pieces, to achieve the splendid expression of its own self. There is no worse thing than keeping a brush or pen away from what they would like to write or express, or thinking that they are not up to their creative and expressive task. A sword in a sheath has never saved anyone. Just showing it has saved peoples and created in times great differences. Every talent kept in one's saddlebag is an offense to God who gave it to us and to the world that awaits our tribute of greatness. Great is every free expression of the soul. Whether it be of the craftsman, the writer, or the poet, every heart needs to express itself, and each possesses the notes with which it is given the opportunity to write its own symphony. The warrior of the heart knows the suffering of operating in what does not interest and excite him, and he knows the triumphant satisfaction of seeing what might never have been born come into being, without his willingness to see the creative note of his soul expressed. Every great work in the world is the fruit of people who have let their talents speak, and everyone possesses one. The warrior of the heart recognizes his own, and with the patience of the craftsman, the faith of the believer, and the passion of the artist, undertakes to sign his life's creative work. Courage. There are times in the warrior's life when he is tested. All his qualities, his values, his principles, his doubts, his hopes are tested. There are times in which he faces a situation in which he is armed only with his faith. He goes on his way, pursuing the dreams of his heart, the values of his spirit, and sometimes life asks him to prove how much he truly desires from the depths of himself that path he has taken. In those moments, when the warrior senses the echoes of an impending battle and confrontation, he asks himself, what are the motivations that make him stand straight and courageous before that test? He asks himself whether combat is really necessary for his path, and whether it respects and honors his principles of growth, evolution, and respect for the universe. He never faces a battle that does not require his presence as the bearer of the eternal principles of improvement and evolution. He shuns sterile arguments and useless confrontations. If he is there, standing straight up to fight, there is a reason. That reason stems from being a warrior of the heart, a bystander of faith, a promoter of peace and brotherhood among men. He recognizes the values for which he lives, the dreams for which he advances. If he seeks the light of a loving gaze, if he seeks his personal mastery, if he seeks to embody the principles of the law of his heart, nothing frightens him, and nothing can stop him. The warrior of the heart advances boldly into battle. He knows that the whole universe is with him, since he is the bearer of an eternal and immortal truth. Tears. A hard heart breaks and crumbles easily. A soft heart beats hard and exudes warmth in and out of the chest that houses it. Weeping is the river that flows within the warrior and makes his spirit fluid and clear. A face without weeping hardens the gaze and weighs down the heart. What is strong is not what is hard, but what flows freely. Steel bends, water cannot break, but only change state and then return to the fluid state. So is the warrior of the heart when he weeps. The heart is born from the soft, salve et coagula, echoes in the warrior's spirit, an echo of distant memories and a knowledge inherent in every fiber of his being. In the darkness of his refuge, away from prying eyes, the warrior gets in touch with the dark parts of himself and weeps. Tears of healing, healing of his spirit and body. What needs to be abandoned from the meanderings of his being is dissolved and distilled into those drops that line his face and crack his armor, which now has no reason to be. The warrior of the heart has not always been a warrior of the heart. He has often violated the law in the past. He has wounded with his word, betrayed with his hand, and failed to listen to his heart, following paths that did not belong to him. His tears make him free of the past by making him clear toward the future. The warrior of the heart cries with the dignity of a warrior and the tenderness of a heart in love. This combination of strength and softness make him hardened and firm in his being. The strength of rock and the strength of water are with him. Salve et coagula, concentrate and disperse, shines on the warrior's ridged face and moist eyes. Doubt. The results of actions are slow in coming, and the fatigue of persevering grows heavier and heavier. The warrior is tired and challenged as another day, the same as the previous one, falls. He wonders if he is chasing an unattainable dream. On rainy, cold Sunday afternoons, the warrior wonders if he is truly worthy of being able to aspire to the gifts of good fighting, the one that will perhaps one day lead him to taste the flavor of his faith. The warrior doubts at times. He doubts himself, the existence of love, his fellow travelers, and his own heart, a lamp in the darkest nights. He wonders if everything is not an eternal quest with never an end. The warrior knows that his life will one day come to an end, and what frightens him most is to spend his existence searching for what may not exist. The only guide to his steps are his heart and the signs that the universe sometimes sends him. Both the one and the other are for him the alphabet of God, that alphabet that he is not always able to understand, especially when doubt creeps into him. The warrior wonders, will I ever meet her gaze? Will I ever be able to embrace her before the warmth of a fire? Will I ever be able to walk with her, hand in hand through the streets of the world? Will I be able to complete my task on this earth? Answers are slow in coming, his heart now silent, the same doubt enveloping and suffocating him. Is this another test of faith for the warrior? Or perhaps a moment of lucidity in a world without magic? Only a steadfast faith and an unparalleled perseverance make him a warrior of the heart, able to move forward, step by step, in day and night, in sunshine and in storm, toward those emotions that make his soul vibrate. Doubt strikes the warrior of the heart, but he moves forward, knowing that the worst defeat is precisely that of not knowing how to believe and persevere on his path. Faith is his most powerful weapon that melts doubt like snow in the sun. Faith. Sitting under the shade of a majestic tree, immersed in the shelter of solitary and friendly nature, the warrior closes his eyes and thinks. He thinks about his journey and his purpose, which, despite much to do and act upon, has not yet been brought to fruition. Images of the fields he has crossed, the impervious rocks he has climbed, surface in his mind, hoping to eventually find the fulfillment of his journey. The warrior, tired but satisfied in his heart, indulges in the thought that he has done all that he felt deep down he was doing. In his mind still reverberate his words, never spoken in vain, for they were felt deep inside. In those moments when time seems to have stood still, when every seed seems to have finished growing, he entrusts his work to God. He asks his heart if he has done a good job. He asks God to provide for the growth of the seeds he has sown, if they can ever one day become fruit to feed other warriors and those in need. The warrior of the heart, having accomplished all that he could do, with the wisdom of his heart and the strength of his purpose, entrusts everything into God's hands, like one who has worked in the field and at the end of the day puts his tools back in place. At this point he entrusts his field to the water of heaven and the warm embrace of the sun. The warrior is a man, and as such, he cannot go beyond the work of his arm. With this knowledge the warrior rests and waits, confident that the seed will grow luxuriant, as the dawn rises brightly at the end of the long night. Perseverance. To err is human. To persist in error is diabolical. To persevere in the path that one recognizes as the path of one's life is divine. One's existence depends on one's hopes, one's values, one's dreams. The warrior of the heart lives his existence by a path he has recognized as true. He lives by that. Nothing and nothing will stop him. Like water that flows, ebbs and flows and always finds a way, so is his operation. Flowing in the sea of life, through the obstacles of existence, so is he. You can hinder him, but you cannot stop him. He excavates the hardest rock. In the warrior are the awareness of one's goal, the passion for life, the desire for freedom, the yearning for greatness, the impetus of evolution, the infinite forces with him. Who then is against him? Readiness. 1,000 days, one the same as the other. An endless thick fog, a boundless desert. The road seems to have no end. The warrior works tirelessly, often solitary in the certainty that sooner or later something will happen. His is an active, laborious waiting. His goal is to build his skills, step by step, as one sharpens a sword in anticipation of a glorious battle that will consecrate him as the victorious warrior of his existence. Although he does not see the end of his path, he must work conscientiously every day toward his evolution and self-realization. If ever there is a glimmer of opportunity, he will be ready. Success in everything comes to those who are ready to grasp at the moment it comes. The warrior has been ready for some time, like a shining sword that wants to prove its temper. He is ready to vibrate the blow of his mastery. Change. Waiting for the wave of change, I have been ready for a long time. Long days and whole nights I did not spend in vain working on myself. I am not afraid to wait any longer, if that is necessary. I have realized that my goal is the journey. to forge my qualities as a warrior. The sword is not sharpened in battle, but in daily care. I have been waiting for so long for the splendid moment when I can show myself that conscientious and industrious work always pays off. I am ready, God. Grant me to display your glory through deeds inspired by you. Grant me the honor of unleashing the spirit of others like me awakened. Ladies, I am ready to ride the wave of change. Grant me an opportunity so that I can honor it. When I hear behind me the footsteps of another warrior, I will know with certainty that I have broken his chains and shown him the way to true freedom, that of the spirit. One after another we will walk toward our destiny, to become conscious parts of one pulsating organism. One by one we will become an army, and each one will become aware of being one with you. I feel that now my time is approaching. Give me the opportunity you grant to anyone who has crossed the lines of inertia and unawareness, who has shown belief in the glorious way you have shown in the past. Now is the time, Lord. I am in my truth. The truth resides in my heart. My heart is with me and beats strongly. We are all one and resonate harmoniously with your evolutionary flow. Lord, let me finally transform and evolve as the caterpillar does when it awakens into a butterfly. I feel that now is the time for the big change. Wealth. One of the warrior's purposes is to experience the abundance of creation and to enjoy even its material manifestations. What really is wealth if the greatest things are inherent in nature itself and freely provided by the universe? What greater wealth is there than to breathe in the spring scent of blossoming plants, to feel the warmth of the sun's rays on the skin, to take a refreshing bath in a corner of the blue sea, to make love on the beach in the moonlight? True wealth is being able to perceive the greatness and value of all these things, and all this is possible when the soul and heart are at peace and harmony with themselves and the whole universe. But wealth in the material world is not just that, and the warrior of the heart knows this well. Wealth is also freedom to do what one loves, to explore faraway places in the world, to be able to do whatever the heart asks for as an experience in the concrete world. How to become wealthy and be able to access material wealth. Witnessing and proving this miracle is every warrior of the heart who has not put matter before spirit. To him is shown the path to his personal success through that for which he was born. Listening to the impulses from within, he indulges and creates, step by step, his personal mastery. Like a sculpture that is created with small strokes of the chisel, so he creates his life's work through small but significant steps of learning and putting it into action. Each step carries within it the soul of success, as it represents for him a step toward evolution, mastery, manifestation, and service. It is written, "Whatever you have in your heart, go and do it. The Lord is with you." The whole universe conspires toward his evolution and manifestation. When he works, he does so with heart, as if he is in love with what he does. With these assumptions, he creates value for himself and others. His work, whatever it is, if performed with art and love, improves himself and the lives of others. What better method to attract wealth to oneself? Seek the kingdom of God, and the rest will be given to you in addition. The warrior of the heart has eyes to see and ears to hear. He follows his dreams with confidence and perseverance. Only mastery and love create the state of art in what is done. Matter follows thought. Material manifestations follow spirit. To be rich outside, you must be rich inside. You must become the artist of your life. Humility. The day has come when success reaches the warrior of the heart. After much persevering in one's ideals and beyond all hope, now reduced to a feeble symbol, something happens. The warrior's value, demonstrated in his path of faith, hope, and transformation, reaches the eyes of all. What until a moment before was hidden behind a golden door and reserved only for a few is now offered to him. The warrior is still the same, now as before, but it seems that everything is now offered to him on a silver platter. Honors and glory to a victor. At this sight, the warrior smiles and rejoices deep down. But he does not succumb to the flattery of others and the pompous proposals of some who see him only as a racehorse to bet on. Now as then, the warrior is the same, though always in his path of constant transformation. Defeat, like triumph and success, are sides of the same coin, and he knows well that he needs both to learn and progress. He knows well that honors and glory have destroyed and annihilated armies and valiant knights. Challenge produces change. Stasis in luxury and idleness can kill him. With this awareness, the warrior rejoices in these well-deserved moments. But he knows perfectly well that what is now at the top, tomorrow may be at the bottom. That same force that now, almost suddenly and magically, has brought him to sit at the royal table, tomorrow may bring him back with his feet in the mud, if only he proves that he feels the great one in the banquet of honors. But he knows very well that what is truly valuable in life is what you give to others, and the values you keep in your heart. They are all that he will one day bring with him before the generating force. The warrior of the heart, in the presence of triumph, honors, and success, thanks those who helped him in the endeavor, sharing the well-deserved spoils and showing them how great they were in their part. He sits down to the banquet of celebration, savoring the taste of those dishes he was previously not allowed. When the banquet was over, he gave thanks, resheathed his sword, and set off on his journey of search and transformation, thanking God for giving him the opportunity to have the victory experience. Destiny. The greatest opportunity that has been granted to the warrior of the heart is his own life. He is born with a mission, that of fulfilling his destiny. Destiny is the greatest challenge for him. It is up to him to recognize the signs on his path and the emotions in his heart that guide him toward the fulfillment of his existence. He is not always aware of the signs that guide him, and often his heart is silent, leaving him lost in the sea of doubt. In moments of bewilderment, when he loses sight of his path and cannot listen to himself, the warrior of the heart feels lost at the mercy of an unknown destiny. The lights on the path are the signals God sends him. His feelings are lamps that illuminate his destiny. When the warrior feels at the bailiwick of a destiny that does not belong to him, he first asks himself whether he has violated the law of his heart and betrayed his feelings. Then he asks God to enlighten him and grant him again the blessing of good fighting. Once he has found peace within himself, the warrior of the heart once again wields the sword of his faith and continues to travel the roads of the world. One day, he knows, he will have to give an account of his life to God. If he has been a good fighter, showing the value of a life lived in the fulfillment of his own truth and values, he will have fulfilled his destiny. Destiny is for the warrior the work of his life. God has granted him life. It is up to him to honor it and consecrate it to his highest destiny. Religiosity. Multitudes of masses reciting unknowingly words they do not understand with their minds or hear with their hearts. Religious rites that follow long-established rules whose meaning is no longer recognized. Worshipping images, statues made of marble and plaster. Is this religiousness? Where God is, there you will find religiousness, with the wonder of a child, with the strength of a knowing God. If something is religious, ask your spirit. Feel it with your heart. Anything that makes you have a deep experience with the divine, that divine that is in all things, is religious. Have you ever sat on the bank of a quiet river and watched the placid flow of the silent water? Religiousness is entering into communion with beings, the elements and all of existence. Religiosity is appreciating existence in all its manifestations and being aware that you are all and all is one. The warrior of the heart eschews religious conventions, echoes of a tired, obsolete, and primitive religiosity that does not free the spirit within the individual because it does not make him aware of God's existence in him, but bends him to images external to himself. Until true religiosity is recognized, the sacred will remain external to common existence, and God will not be seen in all things and in all his infinite manifestations. The warrior of the heart recognizes that he is a spark of the living and eternal God in all creation. With this profound awareness, he sets out on the path of the sacred, of discovering moment by moment that everything religious is already existing within him and within everything he encounters. Religiosity is worshiping the God common to all races and beings of all degrees of consciousness, recognizing His majesty and love that enables all His manifestations to exist and evolve. Prayer. Sometimes, enclosed in His shelter, nestled in a forest, on a mountaintop, or before the immensity of the sea, the warrior of the heart seeks contact with the eternal and infinite force. Thus he lifts up his words to God. My Lord, infinite greatness, listen to my words. Let your strength flood my limbs and make them full of vigor. Let my every step be sure toward the good goals to which I so aspire and for which I fight every day. Make me worthy of the gifts you reserve for those who are engaged in the path of good fighting and who are faithful to your law, the law of the heart. Make me wise in the moment of choice. Make me strong in the time of battle. Make me confident in times of doubt. Keep in me the passion that burns in my heart and drives me to ever higher heights of being. Make me humble in the face of victory and honors. Make me worthy to represent your law. Many times I have doubted you and the forces that obey you. Many times I have reconsidered by glimpsing the subtle harmony that pervades everything. Grant me whatever I needed in my path, for my own good and for the common good. Make me worthy, should it be necessary, to show the sword and wield it, in your name and for your law. Make me worthy, O Lord, to enjoy the beauties of this world, which I appreciate and love. Confer on me your supreme help, visible and invisible in my time of need. Keep ingrained in me the virtues of the warrior of the heart that guide me through forests, deserts, and seas, to the full expression of my higher self. I am nothing but everything I can with you by my side. Let it be done according to thy will. A warrior of the heart. Peace. Look into the eyes of your enemy. Look at the being inside his body. Observe his fears. Understand them and make them your own. He observes the search for life behind his dreams and hopes. See his children, his wife, and his home. He walks in his shoes, worn out from a long walk. He breathes his feelings and emotions. Picture him hugging his mother and listening to her recommendations like a child. Listen to his doubts about life and existence. Feel his fear of losing existence in a conflict, futile because it is contrary to life. Recognize God within him and see yourself behind his eyes. Example. A picture is worth 1,000 words. An example is worth 10,000. The warrior of the heart has a task and a responsibility. The task is to become the master of himself, king of his kingdom, and architect of his life. The responsibility concerns shining on others the light that shines within him, so that each one shines with his own light. He recognizes his task, which is to point and illuminate the way, that same way that made him a warrior of the heart, and gave him the ability to understand the depth of being, beyond all ephemeral and false outward manifestation of mere appearance. The warrior of the heart feels strongly the responsibility of example, especially in a time when values are a vague echo, a memory of lost times. In dark times in which the individual is asleep in the arms of the mass media, which do everything but allow the individual to hear the whisper of his own feelings, sensations, and aspirations, the warrior shows what a spirit awakened to values and the greatness of being is capable of doing. He does this not to demonstrate, but to show. He does it in everyday life, in the mastery of his work, whatever it may be. He does it by appreciating the beauty of the small daily gestures that come from simple hearts. He does it by appreciating the power of nature, by communing with the elements. He does it in love, by trusting in the harmony that is accomplished every moment in the universe through the merging of opposites toward oneness. By believing in and living the reality of a transformative relationship, he does it simply by being at the top of his abilities. The warrior of the heart knows the extraordinary power of the example. He paves the way for others to pass. How many lives spent in the deep sleep of non-being? He is here to show those who are ready the way to a new world. A world in which living is one of the most extraordinary and transformative experiences. How many friends will recognize him as the one who once stood by their side and lamented his sense of helplessness in the face of life? The example of the warrior of the heart kindles the eyes and sets the heart on fire. Those who follow him will also become masters of themselves, kings of his kingdom, makers of his life. Passion. Passion. A memory floating in time. It was a midsummer night when the warrior of the heart met and experienced passionate beauty. In the intimacy of his refuge, in the glow of the fire, God granted him the intoxicating experience of embracing and holding the feminine representation of divinity. The warrior of the heart loves beauty and sees it as an expression of an art, the art of God. On that unforgettable night, time had stopped, and the moon reflected its soft rays on those two naked bodies that inspired the god's desire to be human, to feel the intensity of that passion and feeling. Immersed in a long embrace, the two lovers sang the hymn to life. The warrior of the heart does not forget. He does not forget those feelings. The beauty and purity of those sensations urge him to seek, and still the embrace with the goddess. Another great purpose in the warrior's life, another great reason to ply the roads of the world. Nothing and no one will stop him. The warrior of the heart lives by the experience of deep feelings, which transform him to the innermost layers of his being. Now she is far away, but a thin thread connects the two lovers. Distance does not matter when the deep union of eyes and the warm embrace of hearts have indelibly imprinted a trace in their memory. Seasons pass and turn, summer will return, and so will the sacred union of two souls and two bodies. The warrior knows this in his heart. Friendship. Like brothers in the night, they advance in their own lives, helping each other. They advance on their path, knowing that along the way there will always be an arm ready to lift and an ear ready to listen. In the sadness of disappointment and the joy of victory, the warrior of the heart seeks the closeness of other warriors who make him feel loved and respected. Many times he has heard a friend's heart cry. Many times he has unveiled his own. Friendship is sacred to the warrior, for it is the beginning of the rediscovery of a brotherhood that has no end. How many of his friends were once part of a host of unfamiliar faces? He knows that behind every new face lies a new, still unknown friend, with his doubts, fears, dreams, and hopes. Every time he struggles to reach out to help, he knows that it could be a missed opportunity for the discovery of another brother. For we are all friends bound by a deep bond of brotherhood, just waiting to be recognized. Love. I wrote your name on the shining shore of the sea. Was a beautiful, mysterious, and fascinating name. I prayed that the sun would make it indelible so that it would be part of that enchanted shore. I begged the wind to leave those wonderful letters engraved on the wet sand. I protected that word from the light footsteps of the seagulls plying the shore. I invoked the angels to make it mine. A light wave then invaded the shore, erasing those mysterious letters in a flash. Nothing can hold it back by force. Nothing can stop its gushing forth and becoming. Now it is part of me, no longer written in the sand, but engraved in my heart. Its name is love, as immense as it is elusive. Abandon the will and it will be yours. It will come to you like a wave of the sea. Union. Alone. Lost on a remote beach in the foothills of lush vegetation. It is they and they have met, after an endless wandering of encounters that never seemed to end. How many eyes the warrior of the heart had to meet before he caught sight of that flame that now burns and ravishes him? How many times he held tightly in his heart that feeling which from pure potentiality is now a present and living reality? Only the intuition of a greater feeling carried him forward, step by step, through the wastelands of his loneliness. Often the warrior was called a hermit by his companions, but he knew that he had to walk alone the path within himself that would lead him to her, a living miracle of a divine union of passion, beauty, and love. The warrior also lives to experience and savor that feeling of deep union that blesses those beings who have believed in the highest and most authentic manifestation of the union of two souls and two bodies. Enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is that living force that sustains every action of the warrior of the heart. It is that drive that makes him participate in a living existence full of surprises. Only enthusiasm in what he does can make his action decisive and clear as a mountain waterfall. He pursues the wave of enthusiasm, for it is the revealing and secret signal that his heart is there in that action and in that feeling. Embarking on a venture with enthusiasm is like setting out on an adventurous journey with the wind at your back and your sails billowing and brimming with purposeful strength. Where there is love and passion for what is being pursued, there is enthusiasm, a telltale glimmer of success concealed. Enthusiasm is the workhorse of the warrior of the heart. It paws and struggles, ready to launch itself toward that whiff of deep meaning that lies behind the life of the one who passionately rides his life. Teaching. The warrior of the heart bows before the majesty of the teachings given to him and to all humanity by the masters of wisdom of all times. In a sea of great chaos and ephemeral values, he recognizes the value of being beyond all having and appearing. In the silence of the woods, on the banks of a quiet river, and before the great force of water, the warrior seeks contact with the teaching. His heart is the greatest teacher, for it decides beyond all imposition and suggestion. Immersed in the silence of himself and in the harmony of nature, he listens to the eternal wisdom that comes from the great void he creates within himself. Without the void, one cannot create the full, and the warrior is freed from the preconceptions and limitation of social awareness, which only obscure for him a bright vision of greatness. The light on the path is given to him by the teaching of the masters, incarnate and disembodied of all times, who speak through flashes of understanding and quivers of feeling. The warrior of the heart feeds his spirit with written word of texts, sacred in their divine essence, and majestic in the grandeur of their message. The warrior reads, scrutinizes, listens. In each part he finds a fragment of knowledge, a knowledge often revealed in the written word, but unfortunately often ignored by the common man, limited by his narrow vision and unaware of the future of greatness that awaits him. One day in the eternity of being. Every message, every word, every phrase of these teachings vibrate the strings of feelings in the soul of the warrior of the heart and deeply nourish his spirit. Sometimes he weeps, lonely, moved by the deep love that shines through and the simplicity with which it is presented, even in its grandeur. Such words, such teachings are recognized by him as acts of love and compassion towards humanity. If the common man would imbue himself with the glory and grandeur of the sentiments evoked by these books, an immediate inner transformation would take place within individual and within every society. The whole human consciousness would be profoundly transformed. No longer would man go against man, for he would see in the other a part of himself. No longer would he envy his neighbor for what he possesses, for he would be aware that he is able to create what he really desires for his own evolution, experience, and understanding. No longer would he follow a path that does not belong to him, by making himself a slave to a vision that is not his, but he would freely follow the sacred path that his heart points out to him. Long is the line of masters whispering in the ear and spirit of the warrior of the heart. He is deeply appreciative of this and takes it upon himself to spread this word of freedom, power, mastery, and love. He does this by embodying the eternal principles absorbed in his being, committing himself to represent a light to the world. This light is given by the power of example. Perhaps the warrior of the heart will not be immortal, for one day he will desire to be reunited with the infinite source. But part of him will live on in every other warrior of the heart, who, through his personal example, will have instilled in him the teachings, making him aware of being what he is, a warrior of the heart. Creativity. Creativity is the God-given impulse for man to extrude his greatness and manifestation. Every action is creation, moment by moment, toward the full extrusion of the Creator. All life is a creative unfolding, whether or not the beings enacting their work are aware of it. For the warrior of the heart, creativity is the flourishing of his being toward ever higher heights. He feels himself the bearer of one of the brushes that will fresco the Lord's work. Creative awareness as a conscious extrusion of one's mission and evolution. What greater joy than to consciously take part in the manifestation? Every act creative of the warrior of the heart brings him closer and closer to God, for creativity is for him a compelling necessity of his spirit toward the union and manifestation of God through life. Brilliance. Knowledge is one of the ways through which being and society can evolve, but it can also be their own limitation. It can be a road, but also a barrier to the expansion of knowledge itself. Knowledge crystallized in old patterns of thinking becomes a dogma, accepted, unquestioned, and revered. Genius is going beyond common and accepted patterns to venture into the unknown. The warrior of the heart immerses himself in knowledge through his intuition, which is the alphabet of God. Every material manifestation is the expression of a principle present at a different level of manifestation. It is the thought of form. He seeks the thought behind the form. He does so by overcoming the limited and altered thinking of social consciousness that blindly conforms to the dogmas and social and knowledge patterns imposed on him. The warrior takes this extraordinary step toward genius by following the whisper of his deep insights and immersing himself in the plane of superconsciousness through meditation. Meditation? Stop, warrior. Abandon for a moment the whirlwind of a chaotic, whirling life where everything chases everything. Find the center within your being, where there exists, if only you have the confidence to seek it, a source of calm and placid well-being where everything resides in harmonious balance. In that source, you will find the connection with the all, where you are the all and the all is yourself. You will no longer chase after anything, because you will know that you possess the whole of creation. In that infinite sea of peace and calm, you will find God, and what is most important, you will find yourself as a clear drop of an infinite and boundless sea. In that vast sea, you will find every source of knowledge and feeling, for every manifestation and every feeling originates from it and merges into it. Do not look elsewhere for what you already possess. Do not frantically chase after what is firmly rooted in your very being. Know that you are God, and in His majesty all things are possible to you, if only you will know how to enter into harmony and resonance with Him, through that step of annihilation of your ego that is transformed into the consciousness of the whole, a whole that has always been and always will be in every fiber of your body and in every drop of your spirit. Seek contact with the infinite force through surrender, the trusting surrender of who you think you are at this moment. You will discover the dawn of a new manifestation and a new state of being. Abandon the old and open yourself to the new, just as the sun heralds the dawn of a new day. Abandon your mind and open yourself to all that announces itself as a pure expression of that which manifests itself through its pure state of being. As the flower blooms, simply by opening itself to life, so you, warrior and messenger of a new dawn, surrender yourself to all that you feel to be true for yourself and for your life. Trustingly surrender to meditation, listening to the whispers of a forest or the whisper of a stream. Catch the message of the wind, gently sweeping away all thoughts. Move away from the mad crowd and media madness. Listen to your inner voice. What does your heart have to say? Know that in what it whispers to you, you will find the reason for your existence and the harmony of creation. For you will have found your way back home. You will recognize yourself as a pulsating part of the universe, a harmonious part of God consciousness. God. Look for God in the sparks of the golden sea. There you can find Him. Look for God among the ears of corn in a wheat field. There you can find Him. Imagine finding it, at home waiting for you, in your wife's eyes and your child's smile. It's right there. Try to catch a glimpse of Him in the beggar's gaze and his outstretched hand. God is also there. Search within yourself and you will see the Son of Sons. The strange thing is that God is there as well, difficult to see with your own eyes, but so deeply rooted in your whole being. Responsibility. To find oneself in the midst of chaos and false values, to walk the streets of the world shining one's light, this is the responsibility of the warrior of the heart. It is a duty to oneself and to God the Creator. Having a mission is not enough. It must be carried out, day after day. Truth is nothing without action, and so is faith itself. The knowledge of self is good, but also a responsibility. He sins against creation, he who betrays himself and his own values, those of the heart. But doubly sins he who is aware of what his path is and the true reasons for his existence and betrays it. He betrays God in himself. The warrior yearns for the light, as the seed yearns to sprout from the moist, dark earth, to reach out toward the sun. Every warrior of the heart is led to recognize his responsibility to his heart, which is God in him, and to his less conscious brothers and sisters. He does not judge. He accepts and carries out his message. A message of greatness, albeit in its simplicity. A message of value in the midst of so many futile distractions. Each warrior possesses a powerful mission to unveil the path to the exaltation of existence and life in all its manifestations. With him is the whole universe, but he must proceed as if alone in bringing the truth to his brothers and sisters. He cannot delegate to anyone what he has chosen as the reason for his breath. In this consists his responsibility. Greatness. The warrior of the heart addresses the host of other warriors, inciting them to face the challenge of their lives with faith, courage, and passion. On a windy hill he turns to them, loving them for their free choice to join the ranks, and deeply respecting the spirit in them. Warriors. Valiant spirits ready for the consecration of your life and the highest destiny. I appeal to you that in the great challenge of your existence, you may bring faith and hope to the hearts of the most fearful. I appeal to you that your life may be a contribution to the greatness and evolution of being. Warriors. I speak now to that infinite force that resides in each of you and is only waiting to be able to manifest itself through your lives. I ask each warrior of the heart here to open the eyes and spirit of those who are still enveloped by the darkness of ignorance and mired in a life they believe to be meaningless. I incite you to so, through the actions of your existence, there where doubt stifles faith and where fear stifles the greatness of the highest destiny of every single life. May our lives be a living example of what a spirit awakened to life is capable of manifesting. Light, love, power. This is the way. Hymn to life. Lose yourself in the light of the first rays of the rising sun. Messenger of another glorious day. Surrender to the light breeze that sways the grass and gently caresses your face. Immerse yourself in the taste of your beloved's intoxicating kisses. Behold the power of nature always seeking a way in existence. In a blade of grass stretching toward the sky, and in the incessant blossoming of the seasons. Marvel at that whiff of greatness you feel flashing in your heart whenever you think about the meaning of your life. Go to meet life and embrace the opportunity it gives you every day to create with it, and become part of the sacredness of manifestation. This recording of The Warrior of the Heart, Thoughts and Reflections to Conquer One's Life by David De Angelis, was presented by David De Angelis. Sound recording copyright 2022 and produced by Deep Send Limited 2022.